Trump's first 100 days is very much a sort of launching off point for the administration and for the White House. It's a period of time that's been marked by big, bold changes. The administration has been moving fast, and in some cases, the critics would say breaking things. Here's a look at Trump's promises and how he has done so far delivering on them.
So we'll take in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we're going to make our country so strong and so rich, it will never be so rich.
Trump campaigned heavily on the economy, on changing the way that the economy works in this country and making a radical shift to it. He is in the process of doing that.
The economy is very good. We don't have inflation.
In his first 100 days, he imposed a broad tariff program, something that was much bigger than even some of his advisors had expected. The imposition of the tariffs prompted a massive sell-off of equities, and the stock market plummeted, but it also caused the bond market to shake. Though he's keeping his promise to reorder the economy, the ultimate promise is that people who have been suffering will have a better life. That piece is unclear in a global economy that is essentially ripped apart and turned upside down. You don't know what the answer is going to be. It's one thing to rip something apart, it's another thing to build.
I will end the war in Ukraine. Would have never happened if I was president. Would have never. Vladimir would never have done that.
In the bucket of diplomacy in the first 100 days, I think this is probably the area where Trump has had the most difficulty.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
And you hear these notes of frustration from Trump about Putin that are new.
Some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Linskey, because when he considers Linskey not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that.
You get the sense that he is getting to a place where other administrations have been with Vladimir Putin, of frustration and irritation. The larger point is that this war is still ongoing, and there isn't a sense that the United States has been able to broker a deal to end the fighting, which Trump has repeatedly said he wants, but he hasn't managed to break this logjam the way that he said he was.
And we will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of the United States.
Immigration is probably the issue that is most associated with President Trump. When he came into office a second time, border crossings have dropped significantly. He deserves credit for that drop. It is very clearly connected to his presidency, his policies, and the way that he is handling the border. Now, specifically on deportations, it's not something that he's shying away from, even in the face of deportations that his own administration has admitted in court occurred in error. The administration, they've had a very strong track record on this issue. There's no hesitation to continue to plow ahead with it.
Who wants all the stuff that they do? All the transgender stuff, all of the woke military.
Another one of Donald Trump's key points on the campaign trail was to get rid of wokeness. This idea that there are more than two genders, that affirmative action is a sort of guiding force and a value in many companies and institutions. And Trump has sought to say, we don't want that anymore. His attempts at expunging that kind of language and those ideas from the federal government have been effective. He's done it.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
The execution has been sloppy at times, but I think that writ large, he's been very successful at removing this sort of layer of language, certainly from the federal government, and pushing law firms or universities or think tanks to also downplay this kind of language. I think that Trump really sees the first 100 days as a moment that he wants to market. He sees it as important. He's got his sort of height of political capital in this moment, but as he goes beyond the first 100 days, he's going to need Congress to get involved. He's going to want to pass a major tax bill. And so there are powers outside of his control that he needs to start to work with other parts of the government in order to implement the rest of his agenda.